Before I move away from the whole EMS subject, I want to shout out to all the paramedics, all the public servants, actually, firefighters and police officers. Hats off to you. I mean, I have had some of the saddest times and some of the most beautiful times working in that field. And I live in South Louisiana. I worked Hurricane Katrina. It was devastating. Devastating. I mean, 10 years after that storm, I went to a shamanic practitioner school, and a shaman worked on me, and I cried for 3 days. And all I could say was, and it was all about releasing all of that pent-up emotion. And all I could say was, I thought I healed this shit. I thought I healed this years ago, but I didn't. You can't very easily heal something when you don't even have time to do it, and you don't even know how to process it, I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. Maybe I need to. I was actually working with one of my best friends, thank goodness, during Katrina, and we worked at the station on Perkins Road at South Downs, for those familiar with that. And Brandy and I, we went through hell just like everybody else. But the first day, when that storm changed directions, my mom predicted all of that too. But when that storm changed directions and we knew we were about to have a shit show go on, we pulled out from the station onto Perkins Road, and she stopped the truck in the middle of the turn-in lane, and she looked over at me, she said, "We need to make a pact." I said, "What?" She said, "Do not cry, because if you cry, I'm going to lose it." Dumbest pact ever made. It was so stupid. So I held my end of the bargain, and we almost lost our friendship over that storm because of the stress. But we worked for, 32 days straight. We didn't go home. We had some of our medics, family members, when they finally had electricity, it was washing our uniforms for us. It was terrible. We have all these multiple crews up in the same station with no electricity. We had generators, but no air, wearing a sweaty polyester uniform, and and then I think there's funny moments too, but just let me tell y'all some of that, because it's actually funny. It seemed like everybody that was working at my station had their down moments at different moments, which was absolutely cool, because we were there to help support each other. The weirdest thing was how, you get so engulfed in it, and all you're facing is tragedy every day, and we're not at home, we're not in the support of our families, we're just engulfed in this. And but there's it's like one moment you're standing there and you just want to lose it and cry, and the next minute something funny happens and it takes you out of it. But I remember standing in the station, I'm gonna use her name too, Angie, not the one I was talking about earlier, but she comes in and she rips her belt off from her uniform. She says, "MFer," she said, she just come out the bathroom. She said, "It's been 2 weeks, and every time I try and shit, the little turd pops its head out, looks around the toilet, and it says, 'This is not my home. Fuck you. Sorry, you'll just bear with me.'" She said, "The little turd pops back up. Now I can't button my pants. I can't fit in my uniform." And to hear her so animated, and we're about to cry, and now we're dying laughing because she's serious. And while she's ranting about her turd, my partner's on the phone cussing out somebody with Expedia because she had to cancel her flight arrangements because of the storm, and she's trying to get him to understand English. So she's saying, hurricane, do you not know what hurricane is? And it's like complete chaos. And I don't think I've ever laughed that hard in my life, because Angie's pissed at us for laughing. "Why are you laughing? Do you have this problem?" And so when she said, "Do you have this problem?" Nick gets up and says, "I ain't got that problem." He grabs a magazine and a Snickers bar, and he goes in the bathroom, and he props the door open, and he shits, and he wants her to smell it to either coerce her to go or just to brag about the fact he didn't have the problem. And now I'm laughing even harder. It's disgusting. And then we're like, "How are you going to sit on the toilet with that smell and eat a Snickers bar, dude?" And he's like, "Well, I don't have a problem eating, and this is just a Snickers bar. I'll probably eat dinner in here later, but so now she's really pissed because he's shit and she's smelling. He's got the door open and she's still bitching about her turd, which went on for 3 more days. When she finally went to the bathroom, we all cheered. Like we all talked about it for weeks. Well, we're evidently still talking about it because she said she had a turd baby. She said, I just gave birth. And she was so happy. She went from bitch to happiest girl in the world. And then she buttoned her pants and she said, y'all see, I wasn't joking. Like, she was she's always been full of shit, so it didn't surprise me. But she was really pissed off about it. So if you can imagine her seriously talking about her turd, not knowing that the toilet, so it wasn't comfortable coming out in that environment. And Brandy trying to get the guy that barely speaks English to understand she's in the middle of a crisis and he doesn't give a shit. And I'm just sitting there like, this is an absolute shit show, and I love every minute of it. Because what it did was it got us out of we were about to crack, right? It pulled us out of that. And because look, 10 minutes later, there's a knock at the door, and there's a Walgreens employee that was dropping off a grandmother and a 14-year-old who just swam through water to rescue, and the mother drowned. So we went from laughing about the turd to now we're in crisis mode, and the kid had cancer. And so the emotional roller coaster we were on, it was horrible, man. Brandy and I spent a lot of money during that time. We were giving everybody everything we could. We ended up getting the little boy, his mom drowned and died right in front of him. And now he needs cancer treatment. They had nothing, just running for their lives. And, the people in New Orleans, a lot of them ended up in Baton Rouge. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I was on nights at the time, and they told us all, you're going to stay on the shifts you're on. You're not going to switch like days or nights because, we need to be consistent. We don't know how long we'll be here. We had ambulance services from all over the country that came in to help. You know what they were doing? They were pulling some of these crews off the street to provide counseling for them, but we were the primary service in Baton Rouge. We didn't have time for anything. We didn't get counseling. We didn't have time for that. We had lives to save. They had the big triage center at the Assembly Center at LSU. That was their triage center, and Brandy and I worked that area, so we got assigned there one night. They said, look, there's tons of buses coming in. And right when they said tons of buses, the first bus pulled up. Well, New Orleans is an hour from here. They had been sitting on the bus for 16 hours. These were a lot of elderly people. So, the firemen and us, we help unload them. They were ambulatory, most of them. They could handle themselves. But I look over, and there's a woman sitting in the back of the bus. These are school buses, about the third seat from the back. And she's just staying on the bus. And I said, are you okay? You need some help? And as I'm walking up the aisle, she's kind of leaned over, too. So I'm thinking, maybe she needs help. Well, that's not why she was leaned over. Because they were on the buses for 16 hours in the heat in August, her husband had slipped down, like literally slipped down out of the seat, and he was halfway underneath the seat in front of him, and he had died. And he had been dead for so long that he had rigor mortis. You couldn't move him. He was stuck. And she was holding his hand. And you talk about the pact I made not to cry. Like, what? Oh, my gosh. You know that lump in your throat you get when you're, like, in so much pain that you just, Yep. No, I had that so many times. And I just, my heart, right? I'm already empathic, but my heart just, like, fell apart for her. She said, baby, can you hold this for me? It was her only personal belongings that were saved from the storm. And guess what it was? It was a Walmart bag with one sock in it. That was it. One sock. And here's her dead husband, that we couldn't just get him out gently and, compassionately. We had to get tools and cut the seat out of the bus to get him out. It was horrific. Those are those are the times that you're like, there's no way in hell I'm going to process this, right? Where do you put that? Where do you put a pain like that? Like, there's nowhere but to just fragment. The soul fragments. It's like, hey, I've got you. I'm going to run off here and take care of you, but I'll be back later. Maybe not. And you're just kind of like, you go from feeling just utter despair